It's Monday, you're on the way to work or you're running an errand, and the path in front of you is blocked by these cooked fringe climate activists. What do you do? Do you do what this driver did in this video footage? Do you just pass through because they're causing you an inconvenience, or do you submit to the whims of these fringe activists and sit behind your car, your steering wheel, and just wait till they've disrupted your life? That is a question that has come up now in New South Wales, at least. We have a weeks-long disruption planned by climate activists from Blockade Australia. Now, I was not trying to disparage them in that opening by calling them cookers and fringe and all this kind of stuff. I was just demonstrating the type of language that we've been seeing used by these same groups sometimes, or people who ideologically agree with these climate activist groups, right? Who have used these very terms to describe everyday ordinary Australians when they're protesting about lockdowns, or when they're protesting about mandates, right? When they're gathering in Canberra or gathering in Melbourne or in Sydney to raise awareness of issues that are close to them, that affect them. These are the types of derogatory terms that have been used to describe these people. And a lot of these people, right, this is my assessment, my opinion, but from what I'm seeing online, a lot of these people still carry on with these derogatory terms and names for people in causes that they don't believe in. But for them, right now, protesting about climate action, protesting about this alarmism that they think that we should all be attuned to, that the world is going to end, this kind of very fringe ideas, right? These people see nothing wrong with the disruption they're causing to your life. They see nothing wrong with blocking streets. They see nothing wrong with stopping emergency services passing through. That is the whole aim of their action. And that is why these actions are at odds with law enforcement. Because even though legally you could potentially organize a protest right now in New South Wales to, on the steps of their Parliament House, or in a certain area on a street, right? Or even to do a march through a street, an organized march that's been allowed by the police. These protesters, Blockade Australia, their whole aim is to actually cause disruption, to inconvenience people's lives. And that is why these protests are at odds with the law. When do we decide at what point the laws that are, in place around these types of things like protests, when do we decide that they're infringing on us? Is it only when they start infringing on causes that we care about? Or is it when they start infringing on causes that other people care about? Me personally, I've taken the stand that, we have to have fundamental values, fundamental beliefs. So, of course, I do not condone the heavy-handedness of police in dealing with some of these protesters. But having said that, of course, we have to look at the way in which these protests are also being carried out, right? There are times when you're protesting and you end up disrupting the public, right? Whether that's you're walking through a certain street, or you are being corralled by the police to a certain street that you never planned to be on. These kind of things do happen, and it can become an inconvenience on the public. As it relates to these protests by Blockade Australia, their actual goal is, as the name states, to blockade certain things, to disrupt, to cause havoc during traffic, right? So that we had one young lady who had locked herself to a steering wheel or something, and around her neck with this device, right? In the middle of the road, causing traffic chaos. Now, if you looked at these same groups disparaging anti-mandate or lockdown protesters, they would be saying, oh, look, these people are endangering the public. They're stopping the free flow of traffic. This traffic could include ambulances and emergency services that are very vital. And how dare these people disrupt society? But now, all of a sudden, it's okay to do these things to prove a point about a cause in which they believe about, right? Climate change. So they're happy to disrupt the public because they believe that those things don't matter. It's worth it to disrupt ambulances. It's worth it to cause disruptions in people's lives because they have to take climate change seriously. But what we've seen all around Australia over the last 2 years and many parts of the world is that a lot of the population, depending on their belief system, depending on their own ideological views of the world, are happy to support the state. They're happy to support the instruments of the state, like the police force, to hand out all types of justice, retribution, to groups that they don't like, that they don't agree with. And a lot of this is actually pushed by the very people who are on the streets right now in the New South Wales, in Sydney, in Blockade Australia, or groups aligned to these people, or groups sympathetic to these causes, right? Let's say people on the left, for instance, who very happily disparage people in Australia when they are protesting for rights that they don't care about. That is what's happening. There's no other way to put it. And should we look at these fringe groups on the streets right now, very small in number, disrupting the way of life in Sydney? Should we, chastise them continuously for that? Or should we turn a blind eye and say they have a right to protest, the police are being heavy-handed? I think there needs to be a balance. I think we still need to keep an eye and a check on what these police powers are and how far they extend and in what manner they're being used. I'm not saying let's not, poke holes in the arguments of protests or causes that we don't agree with, right? I don't agree with a lot of the things that Blockade Australia believes is an issue that they should be protesting about. I don't agree with any of those things. But, should the New South Wales police be spying on protest groups? Right? I don't agree with that. We should curtail those types of powers. And these are the issues that I think if we come to a agreement, despite whichever side of the spectrum we sit on ideologically or politically, we will be better off as a nation, as a country. And, as much as I want to disparage individuals in this group, and laugh at some of these things, I'm going to show some restraint, because I think that's the issue that's caused the government to really feel like, oh, actually, we have the ultimate power here, right? The police to be like, oh, actually, we can convince people to hate on different groups. And I don't want to engage in that type of thing. Thanks, guys. I hope you're enjoying these videos and this new format that I am doing with these short videos brought to you either daily or whenever I can on a different issue. And of course, make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whichever platform, even on Odyssey. You can find me if you don't like these mainstream platforms. Thank you and see you next time.